Okay, it's the end of the session. I'm here. This is Otto, we didn't see in the first video, and this is Herman, and this is their roadmap to success. This is a ball. They really like playing ball. One of the things I recommended was getting an iFetch. You can get that on Shark Tank. It's a machine that lets the dogs play fetch with themselves. Since he really likes to fetch, it'd be a great way to do it. So if you're gonna play fetch, what we need to do is we need to start adding in structure to everything. So I have a little catchphrase I'll say at the end of this video, and when you hear this and when you hear that, you'll kind of laugh because you understand what I'm saying. So basically, what I want to do is I want to play the game of fetch by my rules. So he's already sitting, so now I'll go ahead and do it, and I'll show you how to do it a second time. So I'm going to throw the ball. As I throw it, I say fetch. When he touches his mouth, I say fetch. And when he brings it to me, right now he doesn't drop. Well, what I'm going to do, yes, Mr. Hard Bite. So I hold it here, drop. So every time, just hold the treat in front of his mouth, and he's got to drop it. Now, the more you take it away from him physically, you're kind of proving to him, I'm a thief. If you come to me with stuff, I'm going to steal it from you. So what we do is when he has a low-value item, stuff that he's allowed to have at any point, pull out a high-value treat, hold it in front of his nose, and don't give him the command. Just hold it here. And wait. As soon as he drops it, then put the treat in his mouth and say the word drop, and then don't show any interest in the object. Eventually, like for fetch, he'll just come and drop the ball. So for playing a game of fetch, you need to bring me the ball and drop it and then sit down, and only then will I pick it up and throw it. Now, we might need to make certain allowances because he might steal one, steal if it's on the ground or whatever. But again, you're saying my game, my rules. My rules require you to show me some deference in terms of being a little obedience, asking to sit or making you drop before I play. And then I throw it again. Okay, so some other things you can do for energy to let energy out. Most of us, when we think of a walk, we think of a walk as completing a circuit. We don't think of it, and so when we do that, we add a lot of pressure. So if the dog is, we think, it's the walk is the exercise. For dogs, actually, the sniffing is really the big part of the exercise. It's very stimulating, very physically energy draining wise. So instead of thinking I'm going to go for a circuit, just start walking and say I'm going to walk for half an hour. If there's two sides of the street, I'm going to walk this way for 15 minutes. And I can let the dog sniff. And because I'm not worried about making it around a circuit, I'm just going for duration. And once we get to the 15-minute mark, then I turn, I cross the street, and I walk back on the other side of the street. If you take the same ground, I've already sniffed most of it. So you move across the street, and then you come back there. And now you had a half an hour walk, but the dog, you might only make it 2 blocks. But that's more physically draining and more stimulating and more relaxing for a dog than to go for like a half an hour walk when they're not sniffing at all. So I'm guessing I already saw this, they get really excited when you put them on a leash, right? So remind me of that. We're going to set up a follow-up session. When we come back, we'll show how to keep them relaxed on a leash, as well as some other things. I'm going to probably remember a couple. Also, while I'm thinking about it, so we remember, because I'm not going to remember in a month, I want to work on keeping them calm when we leash them up, teaching them to be calm when we let them out the door, and then we also work on interaction with guests. Okay, so, and he's very ball-centric, which is helpful. This helps him with his focus. Now, the exercise we went over above will also help with the focus. Probably not the same intensity as this, but we can get pretty close to that. All right, some other things that we can do to drain energy. The laser we could use, most shows a good interest in it. The only thing I'm worried about is there is a little redirected aggression towards the other when they get overstimulated. So when they're playing, even if they're not fighting, but the play starts getting too spirited, give them a timeout, whatever you consider the 50% mark on the energy range. So that way the dog understands that as soon as I get 50.1%, automatic timeout. If we keep it at 49.9, the good times can roll. Just like us, the dogs are more likely to make mistakes when they're overstimulated. I would actually probably give this, now that I'm seeing this, to your guest when your guest comes over. Every guest hold on to it. No barking. Probably will get some demand barking eventually, but now the guests can play fetch with the dog, and it's a nice way to engage with them and doing something the dog really enjoys doing. But again, same rules. You have to drop it, and you have to sit, and only then will I throw it. Okay, other things you can do to drain energy. One of the things that is newer to me is something called a snuffle mat. A snuffle mat, you can do it, use DIY SNUFFLE if you want to do one yourself. And basically what it is like a floor mat, and it's got like a webbing underneath it. You take like almost like shag carpeting pieces, and you put it through there, and then you can put all their food in there. And the dogs have to nudge it just right and use their nose to find the food. That's very physically draining for, like we talked about, for the walk. Something that's very good, buddy. That's good for your abs. Well, let's see how long you can hold that. Another one we can do is feed him out of the Omega treat ball. The Guardians have one, but they use it just for treats. You can use it for his actual meal. So I would start feeding him. When we talk about feeding him in a second, I would feed them in the same room, but one at a time. And so maybe the snuffle mat is going to be one maybe where I'd have one in one room and one in the other room. But basically, and we'll talk about feeding in a sec. But the snuffle mat is very physically draining for them as well. And then the iFetch, playing fetch in the house is also a nice way to do that. And also Google scent games. There's a lot of other, you put 3 cups down like a 3-card body and put a treat on the one. The dog has to go sit in front of that one to get it or knock it over. There's all sorts of versions of it. Walks are great as well, but we want to make sure the dogs are calm and relaxed on the walk, and that's why we'll go over calm leashing next time I come back. All right, so exercise can also set them up for success. That's demanding. We're not going to do that again, remember? No. Now, if I pick him up when I'm doing this, in the moment and to stop a fight, I'll do it. But if I do it, it can also elevate and give him a reward. So I prefer not to do that. And so, all right, so let me see. Other things that we went over were basically the dogs don't have any rules. And if you pet this, that's rewarding that. We'll talk about that in a sec. So basically, for a lack of rules, the dog starts to see you as a peer. If you are a peer, then listening to you is now optional. This is great because this is great leverage. The dog wants something from me. This gives me some leverage in the situation. So, all right. So basically, one of the rules I suggest is not being allowed on the furniture because the higher a dog sits, the more rank or status they have. I would never let a dog up here. But even up here, I would say these rules should be in place for 90 days or as minimum or as long as the problem is still going on. So basically, what I'm going to do is after 90 days, and you can get those X mats. You probably have to get some X mats, put them in places to keep the dogs off of the furniture. But after 90 days, then if I decide that I would like to invite Otis up, I invite him up, and it's a one-time pass. Now during this period, it's not you can't snuggle with your dog. If you want to snuggle, go lay down on the floor, take some pillows on the floor. These are very pretty. But put them on the floor and then make a pillow fort, and then you can kind of hang out with them. And you can always hang out at their level. They just can't come to our level. So that way they see a literal distinction between the two. And we didn't talk about the bed. The bed is a more prestigious place, the human's bed. And so right now the Guardians, I believe, are trying to have the dog sleep on a dog bed at the foot of the bed. And the exercise that I showed you off camera about conditioning the dog to go to the dog bed would work for that as well. So what I would do is I would get in bed for you guys. Do you guys have like a TV in bed where you can like watch TV while you're in bed?
Try to.
No.
Okay, that's good. Probably healthier for you.
Yeah.
But just go up there and like lie in bed, and maybe have one of the dogs somewhere else, or you can just throw the treat onto that dog bed. Every time they jump on the bed, throw it on the treat on the dog bed. So I jump up here, and then the treat goes over there. After a while, why would I come here? I'm just going to go straight to where the treat is. And the dog starts hanging out there and come up with a funny command word to go there. Remember the 3 ways to do it. First way is I throw about 10 in a row. Wait for the dog to vacate before you throw the next one. Always say the command word after the treat goes in the mouth. Second way I do it, and I leave one there when the dog's not paying attention and just watch. And as soon as they find it, then I say the command word. And then Venice. And then the last one is I lead the dog onto it, put it in a sit or LAY, put the treat in the mouth, and then say the word Venice. These are 3 ways to entice the dog to go there. The next thing I do is when the dog goes there on its own, then I throw a treat. So now when I come here, it rains treats. This is a great place. I should be here more often. And then I keep on assigning the command word, a different command word for each one. I'm going to take matters in my own hands, he says. And so basically the idea is we could say maybe that one's Florence, and this is Venice. So we say Florence, the dog runs all the way up and finds a treat on Florence. If you do get new toys, they should find them on the dog bed or in the kennel. I don't think you kennel them. So on the dog bed. So again, another positive interaction when I go to the dog bed. Exercise, one thing I forgot to mention, if you have a guest come over, exercising them before your guests come over can put you in can set them up to succeed. So exercising them, make sure you give about 10 minutes to recover before the guest arrives though. And it's not going to fix your problem, it'll make it easier to fix. Yes. Again, I'm used to taking it myself. So we might have to teach you a leave it exercise next time. Have you already taught him a leave it?
We've been working on it just briefly at training.
So mention that to me if we in the next section we can knock that out as well. All right. So so other rules: not being allowed feeding. Eating is the most important activity for dogs. So when you feed them, I want you to start feeding them one at a time, but they need to eat in the order of their rank. So the trick question I always ask people is, who should eat first? the person who's filming or his partners are the ones who should eat first. All you have to do is eat something at 5 or more bites. Chip, cracker, carrot, preferably something crunchy. Then after that, go in and invite, and I would put the food bowls down, but they're not allowed to go in the room. I'd probably have them outside of this room. That's a nice little choke point. You can move your trash can up here, create a smaller, narrower area to enforce. And then basically invite one of them to come back and eat out of the bowl or however you're going to do it. And I'm going to invite him first because he's older. Unless he's being a real pistol, if he's being a real pistol, I might downgrade him and reward the behavior for life. But all things being equal, I would feed him first. When he's eating, he's not allowed to be in the kitchen. So that way he sees that we have got his back. He sees we eat first, then he gets to eat next, which will help him see him having more rank or authority, which will help. And he also sees when I'm eating, he's not allowed to come in the room. And then when he gets done, if he leaves food in his bowl, we pick up the bowl, we dump it empty, put the empty bowl back down, then he needs to leave the room. Then when he's gone, we invite him in and he gets to eat out of his bowl. And if either one goes and sniffs the bowl, as soon as they walk more than 5 paces away, if there's any food left in the bowl, we pick it up and dump it. You eat the food while it's there, and as soon as you walk away, it's gone. And that way you're in control of the food, and they see and no sympathy. Like, look, I give you an opportunity to eat. If you chose not to eat, that's on your tab, not on my tab. In the wild, they don't savesies. No, there's no savesies. I'm going to eat your portion when you're gone, and then you won't have anything. So we're just doing what they do naturally. And so after a while, the dog starts to see you guys having more rank or authority, and it's helping to see a rank, some hierarchy between the two of them. Once you get to the point where they can eat like that out of the regular bowl, then I would start looking at the snuffle mats, or maybe do a snuffle mat with one of them while the second one's eating. It's harder when you do this. Both this treat ball and the snuffle mat are going to make eating take longer. So maybe I would really focus on eating out of the bowl and the structure first. Once you get to the point where they're no longer protesting behind the line, and then at that point maybe start incorporating the snuffle mat. And it depends on your schedule. If you have more time, great. If not, then we do it that way. But the snuffle mat, like I said, is very stimulating and physically draining. So yes, you're sitting down. All right. Fetch. There we go. He's like, I've been waiting for this for so long. But having your guest have that and having your guest play this game, so when the guest comes over, maybe that's the guest plays fetch with me. Well, that's something I really like doing, so I have a positive association with the guest. But again, the guest has the same rules, and if you guys establish it, like the only way to do it is if you drop. It's funny. It's like, I'm not bringing it to you. You held on to it for too long, ball hog. So I'm gonna chew on it over here. Also, when you have guests come over, you can give them a bully stick like I did. That's a great way to help them relax. And when you guys come home, ignore them like they're invisible. And as soon as they calm down, start reaching, as soon as you reach, the dog will wiggle, pull your arm back, and continue doing what you're doing. You'll probably have 10 or 15 attempts. And each time you get a little closer, but as soon as the dog gets excited, you stop. Remember, excited is not the same thing as happy. Okay, so other rules shouldn't be allowed within 7 feet of you guys when you're eating. Shouldn't be allowed in the kitchen when you're preparing food. And again, I would put down some painter's tape. The little breakfast nook that you have over there has got, I didn't realize that the carpet around it, so maybe you're just not allowed to be on the carpet when you're eating. The rest of the time they can come and go. When we're eating, not allowed to be there. And remember, do a warm-up session. Microwave your bacon or your roast beef or whatever and practice pretend cooking and enforcing that boundary using those escalating consequences I went over with you off camera. I also went over petting with a purpose and passive training. Petting with a purpose is if the dog comes up and jumps up on me or nudges me, it's telling me what to do. If I pet it, I'm validating that perception. So what I do instead is I give the dog a counter order, tell it to sit. If it's already sitting over here, I ask it to come and sit over here or ask it to lay down. Don't ask it for shake. I wouldn't practice the shake for a while. So there we go. So basically, every time the dog tells you what to do, nothing happens. But if you tell the dog what to do and the dog does it, you get a reward. Now you can do it that way, or you could do it the other way. You could do it is take this and just touch his nose with it, and when he's looking at you, just drop it on the ground, and when he licks it up, say the word off.
Off.
There you go. So you had to put it in context. Then I would put the X mats back up, or sit down there and be ready to flash your hand. Don't stand here like this, but as soon as he jumps, try to flash your hand. If he hits your hand and bounds off, we don't want to hurt the dog, but if they kind of attempt and crash and have an epic fail, that might help it. It's carpeted, so it's not too bad. But the Dotsie, so we want to be careful of their hind legs. Okay, so those are examples, or petting with a purpose. So after a while, the dog will realize if I tell the human what to do, nothing happens. But if the human tells me what to do and I do it, will you drop? Drop. There we go. Sit. Remember, you have 3 seconds to comply. If the dog doesn't comply within 3 seconds, then I'm on to other things. So basically, for petting with a purpose, the dog jumps up on me, tells me what to do. Nothing happens other than I tell it what to do. Now, if I tell him to sit and he doesn't sit within 3 seconds, playing hard to get works great for dating. It works great for dogs. So if he doesn't sit, then I'm not engaging with you. You have to wait a little bit of period of time. If he barks, I'm definitely not going to engage for that. And I wait until he settles down, and then I might give him another opportunity. So I say sit, fetch. So again, sit earns you the right for another fetch or whatever it is. So after a while, what will happen is he's realizing I can't tell the humans what to do anymore. I have to pay for it through a currency of obedience, and he'll start coming and sitting in front of you to prepay for attention. Or with the fetch, he'll come and sit and drop the ball as his way of saying, please come and play fetch. That's much more polite. So when he does that, then pet him under the chin, preferably. The body mechanic of proud dogs have his nose in the air, so try to avoid petting on top of the head. Try to pet under the chin, and say just the command word. Not good sit, just sit. And not sit. That's a different command word. They hear inflection.
I do that.
And a lot of people do. Nothing wrong with saying it any way you want to say it. There you go. The treats are right here. Now, this we can do another one, but if we do constantly do this, the dog jumps up to get the reward. That's why getting those X mats, which will be the space holder for you. Buddy, I'll distract you. Go ahead. So don't
off.
try to keep one leg up there, but I try to make sure the other dog's distracted. We don't want to have a fight happen. Okay, so I use the watchword paycheck if I suspect someone's petting without a purpose. If someone comes and says paycheck to me, I stop automatically. I take the other person's word, even if I know I did it right. I stop petting, I tell the dog to sit. If he's already sitting, tell him to sit over here. And then I say sit, and then I pet on his chin, say sit next, I tell my partner. Actually, I asked the dog to sit. When you opened the door, the dog stood up and I continued petting, but thank you, because I do forget to pet without a purpose. It's not a gotcha. Even if you want to pet the dog, you should still tell the dog to sit. And if it doesn't, then it does not get the privilege of your attention. Now the dog has to ask or do things for you to get your attention, which will help greatly with the leader-follower dynamic that you have. Now I also do something called passive training. Passive training is waiting for the dog to organically offer you the behavior that you want. So for that one, what you could do is you could put your hand next to him. Or you do that. There you go. That's a little bit harder on that one because it's so long. So sometimes what I'll do is the dog's up here, I'll push here to the edge so the dog feels like it's teeter-tottering, and then the dog jumps off on their own. I don't push them all the way off, and I don't give them the elevator ride. Oh, very good. Fetch. I'll fetch for that. I'll throw that's over there, buddy. Sorry. Herman!
He's usually much better about not striking out like that.
Okay. Well, we'll let you figure that one out. All right. So passive training is waiting for the dog to organically offer the behavior. That's really almost an example of he came over and dropped the ball. That's almost more of a prepay, though. And so for passive training, right there, pet him for sit. Just pet him. Just because you have treats doesn't mean you have to give him a treat. Affection is just fine. So passive training is just waiting for the dog to organically offer you the behavior that you want, and then petting them. But they do hear the first word, so try to avoid saying good sit.
I said
That's right. That's why I said it. But just say just the word sit. And so maybe come up with a word, call it like Scrabble. Means you're using too many words. Again, I like using those fun command words because dogs can read facial expressions. Speaking of command words, come up with a list of the official command words, write them down, and then say vocabulary if somebody's saying a different version of the word. We often assign so many variants of a word that it's fine if you speak English, but dogs don't. It makes it harder for them to memorize. All right. So passive training is if the dog comes to you, pet it for come. If it's like, and that's why I was saying for that, you guys have difficulty getting him to come, still waiting over there by the door. I don't know what's going on. Maybe sitting like a champion over there, Herman is. But so what we're going to do is wait for the dog to voluntarily do the action and then say the command word. So I use this for sit, come, down, name all your individual toys. All balls can be balls, but hey, buddy, Herman. He's still looking. But that way you have a better vocabulary and more rich vocabulary. Like I say, grub, chow, feast, and lasagna for my dogs to eat. Each dog has its own unique command word. So come up with a command word for each one of them to eat. And the first time that Herman takes his first bite of food, we say tacos. So tacos, when I hear tacos, there's food in my mouth. You do that for about 3 or 4 months. When he hears tacos, there's no food in his mouth. It means something. It doesn't mean the same thing. So sit. So I say testify as my word. Good sit.
Right.
That's all right. And this is, I'm laughing because we have a medical person in the house, but this is an example of neural pathways locking in the myelin sheath. It is biology, and it is not something you're intentionally doing. It's going to take a little bit of undoing. That's okay. But it's helpful because you guys have a partner, so you can check each other and correct each other.
Because I didn't notice.
Yes, because we won't. It happens so often. Come. That's a good example of come. All right, Pastor Ray, that was a good example of it as well. So every time they go to the dog bed, say the command word for the dog bed. He's like, this looks like just like the ball that I had. And you can use it for all sorts of different stuff. If they're being nice to each other, being tender, and one is licking the other one, say friendly. I say kisses whenever my licks me, and so kisses means lick me.
We use kisses.
Love means lick me right here. So every time he licks me, I would say love. So I can make it that precise, that specific. So come up with these fun commands and help each other out. So I say testify means you missed an opportunity to pet the dog. So whatever the dog is, I look at it, he's standing, I pet him and say come. If he's sitting, or I pet him and say sit, crash, for lay down, or whatever it is. And so the more that you do this, the better the dog understands what you want, and also the things the dog can do that seems to get you to make you happy, because that's what gets your attention. So I'd say no more free pets. You're still going to catch yourself doing it accidentally. That's all right. Stop when you do and say sit, sit. So I really say it like that. I say it twice. I say the command word during the command stage and during the reward stage. So I associate both things. I do this with adult dogs that are 14, 15 years old. It's just a great way to reinforce it. Let me see, what else? When you're leashing them up, don't let them, when they're excited, well, not only leashing, but anything. As soon as they get excited, stop immediately. Try to give yourself extra time. If you're going to leash them up and take them outside, and you only have 5 minutes, that's not a good time to do this. So, okay, I want to leash them up. I'm going to do this 15 minutes before I want to take them out. So go over there, grab the leashes and sit down in your breakfast nook, sit, and then ask the dog to come to you. And it has 3 seconds. It doesn't come, then drop the leash and walk away. Or if one comes and the other one's, leash that dog up, take that dog out, don't take the other dog out. The only time we worry about this, like I said, is if there's the potential for redirected aggression. So then we might have to do something a little bit different. All right, I'm trying to think if there's anything else we went over. I went over the focus exercise. That's encapsulated in the video. Is there anything else that I went over that you want me to cover? Maintenance. Yeah. Maintenance is right now the dogs jump up on this couch and then they bark outside the window because they can see it. And every time that somebody's walking past your house, they think they're going to invade, and they bark at them, and they think the barking made them keep walking. So what I would recommend you do is about as tall as they are, maybe about halfway up between your window jamb. Get on the inside of the deal. Cut out get some paper. Go to Kinko's and just get that sheet and cut it out exactly. Tape it on the inside of the window, so they can't scrape it off. So now every time they run up, because they're going to occasionally run up and jump over the window, but they don't get the visual, I can't see what's going out there. I do it for these 2 windows. You're about 2 feet on your door, about 2 feet on that window over there. So that way, every time they go there, they don't get the visual reminder of being excited. Testify. Go ahead and pet him. And again, preferably under the chin. Good job. So there's going to be a lot of little things that we covered that I might have forgotten to go over. I can't cover everything here.
The windows were a big one.
Yeah, that'll help quite a bit. Also, I would recommend you put the bells next to the door, not from the door, because that means the door opens, not go potty. And if you want to teach them to go potty, take the bells out with you, and as soon as they start to pee or poop, gently ring it while they're peeing and pooping, then I'd clamp it so it doesn't make a sound. Show me you have a treat, put the treat in his mouth, and gently ring it while he's chewing it. So that associates all those things together. And if they do get after it, you got to separate them. You just got to do what you got to do. That's a demand. So tell them to sit.
Sit.
And then just lean back. So you do it my way, or there's no reward. We're not going to punish. That's modern dog training. We don't punish dogs. We create a scenario where if you do what I want, you get a reward. If you do anything else, nothing happens. After a while, they just automatically go to what you want. Testify. There you go.
Sit.
And one other little.
And the hissing you talked about.
Those are the escalated consequences. Those ask me about. If I usually don't do those. That's one of those things you have to hire me for. So message me if you, and I can go through over those with you again. I use a kissing sound as my affirmation, and I like to hold my hand like this. Start lowering it. The lower you go, the more it's for the dog. So if you but sell it. When I tell people in LA, I'm like, make sure in Omaha, I'm like, go like this. Well, he showed you have nothing in your hand. I go in LA, I'm like, first of all, what's my motivation? Everybody's an actor in LA. But, so you want, if I go like this, you see my hand? It looks like it's got something in it for him. Now he knows that he might think the ball's not there. Oh, there's the ball. But it's just a nice way to call the dog to you. But make sure you get out of a habit of saying the command word over and over again. The more you say it, the less you mean it. So say it once and try to create a scenario where the dog, sit, fetch. Where the dog has to do something for you in order to earn it. All right. Well, that's Herman, and this is, I want to say Otis again. Otto. And this is their roadmap to success. Remember, everything you do trains your dog. Only sometimes you mean it.